Hi, everybody. So hopefully everything's going to work. I'm sharing. It says I'm live, so that's always good. Hopefully you'll be able to see my screen here in a minute. I'm trying to. Yep, it's working. There we go. Okay, I'm trying to get my second computer set up here. Everything's beeping at me tonight. Okay, here we go. All right, so just a second here. I need to get this up so I can see what you're saying. Oh, there's people here. Hello. Hi, everybody. What a beautiful, beautiful day. Hasn't it been a beautiful day? It still says it's like 55 degrees out. I've been out a couple of times. I've been quilting today. I just decided I needed to run my long arm, so I quilted 2 quilts this weekend. When I get the binding on them, I'll put pictures up. They were just I did Lynn's. Lynn had done the Jelly Roll quilt class some time ago. I don't even remember how long ago it was. And so I quilted that one. I really wanted that one quilted, and then I also quilted another little one that's a little Disney quilt. So it was fun. I haven't used my machine for a long time, and I have new software. They updated the software, so I needed to um, play with the new software a little bit because I have to go and install it and teach somebody how to use it this week. So I figured I probably better know what I was doing, right? All right. Got a few people coming in. We'll wait a few minutes. So I wanted to remind everybody, I'm going to do this quick at the beginning. I did, and I put this up on this group, Sessions on Software, but I did upload this last week all of the videos from Sessions on Software also to the new YouTube channel. So remember, the YouTube channel is called Sew Along with Jan. So you can to get there, you can just go to youtube.com, type in the search Sew Along with Jan, and this is it right here, Sew Along with Jan. And then it will take you to the video, the actual homepage. And then if you go to the playlist tab here, all of the videos for the software are under, there's 2 playlists. One of them says Perfect Embroidery Pro, Dime Perfect Embroidery Pro. There's 15 videos in there. And then there's 3 in the Brother PE Design. So that's where all of the software classes are. So if you need to go back and find them a little more easily. So is everybody hearing me okay? Is the sound okay tonight? Give me some thumbs ups or something if you're hearing me all right. Hopefully you are. So anyway, I'm just reminding you about the YouTube. If you're having a little trouble finding the videos on Facebook, you can always go to YouTube and find them there, okay? Yep, people are hearing me all right? Good. The sound's okay tonight? I tried using the other browser. I usually use Google Chrome beta for Facebook because sometimes Facebook puts out all these new things and it doesn't always run on regular Google Chrome. So I have to run beta, which is like the new version that's supposed to be coming out. And so I'm using the regular Google Chrome this time to see if it's better because last week we had a little bit of an issue, so it was weird. But this week I have, with the computer, I always have a second computer to watch the comments anyway. So I think we're going to be good this time. So, all right. So anyway, just reminder about the what I ended up doing is putting all the software stuff and the sewing stuff on the same YouTube channel. Just made it easier for me. Everything's together. But the playlists, if you go look for the playlists that say either Dime Perfect Embroidery Pro or the Brother PE Design, then you will find all the videos for this group, Sessions on Software. And I also did the links under the videos to the support files that we used for the class. So any of the classes that had files that you needed to download or you could download later, or instructions or anything, those are all linked in the description right below the videos, just like the other group. So okay, so everything's the same, and I put it all on the same YouTube channel. Made it easier for me. So hi Kathy, hi Lana. People are coming in. So Lynn says this sounds good, so that's good. All right, so so tonight what we're going to do is we're going to do this cute little. Let me close this up here, and I'll go down to the desktop. So we're going to do this little one of those little 6-inch frames. It's one of those little 6-inch Eckfeld frames, and I really like making these. You know, we made one last year that had the little bunny rabbit on it and did the puffy foam on it. So I thought, well, let's just do another one of these because they're so much fun and they're easy to make. And they, I just wanted to do some digitizing. So this is going to be, you know, using the fonts, doing some work with actually all of those little, like the flower and the little bee and everything are right in the software. So there's actually a lot of designs in the software that you can just use to make your own designs. So I really like, that's why I've always liked this software, because there's so much like in it that I can just make stuff of my own out of what is already in the software. So then we're going to do a little editing, like the little flower that I took out of I took the letter I out of the word spring and put the little flower in, but the flower had this like really, really short little stem. So I'll show you, you know, how to, we'll alter that stem a little bit so that it looks more like I have it on the screen here. And then the little bee, I wanted a little trail that kind of went, you know, behind the bee there. So we'll draw that with one of the drawing tools. So we're just going to have some fun digitizing tonight. So I had done, so the Happy Easter banner was the one we did last year. Do you remember what that looked like? I can close this one and open that one for you so you can remember what it looked like. So we're going to start out basically the same way with it. So if you'd already created this, the first section is going to be the same. So you could actually just take out the bunny and the Happy Easter and add the stuff that we're going to do at the end for Welcome Spring. So that's what's neat about these, is that once you kind of get the base done, then you can change them and do different ones over and over. And then, you know, it's the right size and everything. But these are those little 6x6 frames from Eckfeld. I have them on the website. So if you don't have one and you want to make a couple of these and hang them up, they just turn out so cute, and they're fun to have seasonal little things that you can hang. So I thought we'd do a few of these here and there. Maybe we'll do a summer one then. So I wanted to start with spring. I needed spring. I needed some spring colors with all the cold weather, and it's finally warmed up, so it helped. So, okay, so let's go ahead and get started in the software here. I'll close this. And we're going to open up Perfect Embroidery Pro. I still get questions. It does say, the icon does say Embroidery Tool Shed. It's okay, because if you have Perfect Embroidery Pro installed on your computer, if that's activated, I should say, or active, then normally the Embroidery Tool Shed program will default and open up as Perfect Embroidery Pro. So, and the first thing that opens up is this Today screen, and we are going to just create a new design today. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to click the little button down here at the bottom that says create a new design. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. And if I can move this little thing down a little bit here so we can see I have that little sharing screen, and it's always down there, so I need to leave it there and pull it down a little bit. Okay. Oh, people were having a hard time finding me. Well, remember, on the first Sunday of the month, we're always in the other group because we're not in Sew Along with Jan. We're in Sessions on Software. So I know that sometimes confuses people. So, okay. So we've opened our software. We have created a new design. One thing that I wanted to do is when I make these little frames, and we did this before, but I'll just go through it again so you've seen it again. I like to use, there's this cute little, Brother has this nice little 6x6 hoop. I just love using that hoop for these little square items, but it's not in the software. So I like to have the frame up on the screen when I'm working so that I know for sure that everything's fitting. Okay. Oh, somebody's texting me, so I wonder if somebody else can't get in. Okay. So in order to make a frame, so we're going to make the frame and put it in the software because we can make our own custom frames. So it's really awesome. So the first thing we need to do though is be in metric for a minute. The frame sizes are all set up in metric measurements. So I know the 6x6 hoop is 150 by 150. And to get it the exact size I want it, I really need to use the metric because everything's a little bit more concise. Okay, so we're going to right click on the ruler bar up here first. And I'm going to choose metric over inches for just a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to go down here to the bottom left-hand screen. Now or the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And my screen's very small, so I have to click. There's like 3 little buttons down here. There's 3 little polka dots. I have to click that to get to my hoop icon. So if you have a bigger computer than I do, then you may not have to do that. Okay, it may show there and it looks like a hoop. Okay, so I clicked on the hoop icon, and then what I want to do is I want to create a custom hoop. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on the word new. Okay, now if you've already done this, you probably won't need to do this again. And I'm not going to save mine because I've already done it. I think I did it on this computer. So I know that 6x6 hoop is 150 millimeters by 150. And that's the size it is. And it is a rectangle. The Bernina ones are round, so that's why they give you the option of round or rectangle. And ours are rectangle. And then you can put the name in here. So I want to call this the Brother 6x6 hoop. Okay, Brother 6x6, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's what I call it, as a 6x6. So I'm going to click OK. And I may have already put it in here. I think I put the other one in here. I made a different name this time because I named it Brother 150 by 150. So now I have it in here as 6x6. So if you look up here at the right, at the top now, that's the one that's chosen because it's highlighted down here. And then it says it's 150 by 150. Okay, so that's the hoop that I want. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to show up on my screen. Now I have a hard time knowing how big things are. So I want to actually switch back to inches now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click back on that same ruler bar and go back to inches. And so just so you know how big that hoop actually is, even though we call it the 6x6, it is not 6x6. So I'm going to go down to the same thing and click on my little dots down there on the bottom left so I can get to the hoop again. And it's going to turn off my hoop this time. I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on hoop again and open it up. Now I have my Brother's 6x6 hoop highlighted here. And if you look now above the little picture of it, it says it's 5.9 by 5.9. So that's what 150 millimeters by 150 is. So it's sort of like the 4x4 hoop. It's actually 3.9 by 3.9. Okay, so that's why I always set them up in the millimeters, because I know they're exactly the right size. Because if I'd set that up as 6x6, what size are the monster hoops? The monster hoops are the actual size of, you mean the snap hoops, Jackie, the magnetic ones? They read the actual size that the Brother hoops do. So like if you've got an 8x12, it reads 8x12, which is actually about 7.75 by 11.75. So those you don't have to worry about, because those are actually they read as the actual like Brother hoop. Okay. Somebody else said something about, are you losing sound? Is everybody okay? Oh, just Judy. It's probably just Judy. Her internet's slower, so sometimes you get that buffering. Okay, so I'm just going to use I'm going to leave this hoop up on my screen now. So you now know a little bit about actually creating that hoop, and you can go in and create any other hoops. Like the other ones I've put in here in the past is like the hoops for my 10 needle, like I like to go in and actually make the hoops like my fast frames, because they're an odd size. So I measure them and I actually go in and put those in so that I have actual, a representation, so I know how big things can be. Okay, so this is a good way to do that. You can put them in and you can have a better idea of how big your designs can truly be before you put them to your machine. So, okay. So we're going to click OK. And there's our hoop again. So that's our 6x6 hoop. It's actually 5.9 by 5.9 as we found. All right. So the other thing I get a lot of questions about, I'm just going to tell you this briefly. When I have an item on the screen and you go over to the properties box on the right, if you just have little pictures all along the top here, so let me just stick something on here real quickly. I'll just do a little blip of something here so we have something. Okay, so all of these little tabs that are now in my properties box, if yours have pictures and you don't want pictures and you want words, I'm just going to remind you how to get those words. I can read much faster than I can hover my mouse. So I don't like icons. I want words. So I'm going to go up to the tools and I'm going to go down to general options to fix this. And on these little tabs, there's the word view. And if you have the little button here that says show property tabs as icons checked, and if you have updated your software recently, it often rechecks that. So uncheck it, and then it will be words, and it's much faster to find things, I think. And if you like the icons, just leave the icons. But I have a harder time with the icons. So, but that's how you can fix that if you're having trouble with the icons on the side there, okay? All right. So now we're ready to digitize. I'll get rid of this little thing here off my screen. And we're ready to create our little banner. So we have to kind of think through this. This is an applique. We're going to sew this with no-show mesh in the hoop. And I'm going to put some batting in there because I'm going to quilt it. Okay. So we need to have like some placement lines and some tack down lines. And that's where we're going to start. Okay. That's where we started with the little bunny one also. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to put the batting in first. So we need a placement line so we know where to put the batting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little artwork tool and I'm going to come down here to the rectangle. And I want to make a square this time. So to make a square, if you hold down your control key and you put your mouse button down as well. So hold the control key down, start kind of in the top left, and then draw down to the bottom right. And if I have my control key down, it actually makes a square. So that way you don't have to change all the sizes of everything. It actually is already a perfect square. Okay. So I did that. I've got a square up here, but it is not the size that I wanted. So I'm just going to go up and get my selection tool. So my square is selected now. And I want to, first of all, I like to move it to the center of my workspace so that I know everything's kind of centered. So I'm just going to go up here and right click on my ruler bar again and say center origin. Okay, so it's going to center it on my workspace. So I just know where everything is. Okay. Then I'm going to go over here to my properties box that we just talked about, where my tabs have the names on them. And I'm going to choose transform because I want to transform this to a certain size. All right. So I'm going to change the size to 5.6 by 5.6. Well, see, since it says maintain aspect ratio, see, when I changed one, it changed the other one. So it is 5.6 by 5.6 is where I want it. And I'm going to click apply. So then it's going to make my square the size that I want it. Okay, so now that is our first square. However, it is not in stitches because remember, I said we used the artwork tool. So when I draw with those tools, that is just a piece of artwork. It is not stitches yet. So I've got my selection tool. I am going to right click on my square. And then I'm going to go down to convert to, and I want to make this into a run because I want this to be my placement line for my batting. Okay, so now it's a run. So if I look in my properties or my sequence view down here, let me pull this up just a little bit. If I look at this first thing, if I click on the little plus sign, it'll tell me what I have under there, and it's a run. So now it's a run. That's good. Okay. I want to look up in my properties again, and this is going to now let me change anything to do with that run stitch. Okay. So I want it to be the length of 2.5. 3 is kind of long, so we're going to make it 2.5. Okay. And then I want it to be a standard. So in other words, it just needs to go around one time for a placement line. I usually just make them go around once. And then I'm going to click apply. I'm happy with that. Then I want to go over to another tab. That was the run tab, or the place where we can tell it what kind of run we want. I'm going to go to the commands tab. And on the commands tab, I want to do a tie-in and a tie-off. So when it starts at the beginning, it's going to tie in. And when it finishes, it's going to tie off so that nothing will come undone. Okay. So I'm just going to click tie in. Just could use a basic one, and tie off a basic. And then click apply again. Okay. So that is our placement line. So you kind of have to think this through in your head. So I'm going to put my no-show mesh in the hoop, placement line, and then I'm going to lay my batting down. And now, of course, then we need to get the batting tack down, right? So to make this faster, all I'm going to do, I've already got one run. I am going to go up to the top here where I can copy. So my copy icon, and then my paste icon. Okay. So I just pasted a second run down here. If you look down the sequence view, now there's 2 of them, see? Now I want the machine to stop in between because, of course, you know, we need a placement line. Then you put your batting down. I need it to stop in between so I can do that. So I am going to, I've got the second run selected. If you look in your sequence view, you can do that. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to right click on color box number 2, which is going to change the color of the second one to color number 2. Okay, so now we've got it a different color. I also want it to be slightly different sized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here. I have the second one selected yet. I'm going to go back up to the transform tab in my properties box, and I'm going to tell it to transform and be 98% of the first one. So in other words, it's going to be just a little smaller. So I'm going to type in 98. Maintain aspect ratio is still selected, so that's good. And then I'm going to click apply. So now my second line is just slightly smaller than the first one. All right. I'm going to go back to the run tab because I want to change some settings for this tack down because this is a different type of run. So I still want my length to be 2.5. That's good. But I would like my tack down. So when it's tacking this batting down to my stabilizer, I would like it to go around twice. So I'm going to click 2-ply and then click apply. That way, the first one will just go around one time and the second one will go around twice. Really, it's easier to trim if you go around something 2 times than it is if you only go around it once, because then sometimes your scissors will like slip under the single stitch. So I always like to make my tack downs double stitches or 2-plies because then it goes around it a couple of times. Okay. Then I'm just going to check to make sure that my commands, I still have my tie in and tie off. Since we copied and pasted, it should stay there. So once you get it in there, you don't have to usually go back and change it again. But I usually just check to make sure I didn't mess something up. Okay. So we've got that. So now we've got our placement line for the batting. We've set the batting down and then we've tacked it down with number 2. All right. So now I'm going to trim my batting close to the stitches. And then I want to put a piece of fabric over that piece of batting. And then the next piece is going to actually tack down the fabric on top of the batting so that we're ready to do the quilting. So that's what the third step is going to be. So since I've already copied that first square, we're going to use it again. So since it's already been copied, I can just paste it again. So I'm just going to click the paste button again. And this is how I digitize, because then you don't have to draw so much. You can just copy and paste, okay? So see, now I've got a third one down here, this third square. And it's the same size as the first one, because that's the one that we copied, okay? I would also like it to be a different color. So I'm going to go down. I've got the third one selected. I'm going to right click on color number 3, the color box number 3, and change it to the green. It doesn't really matter, but I usually kind of keep the colors in order. It makes sense in my head. So, okay. So now this is going to be our fabric tack down. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back up here to my properties on the Run tab. And I would also like this one to be a 2-ply, because I want to make sure that the fabric stays down well, okay, to my stabilizer. So I'm going to leave the stitch length at 2.5. I am going to change the type then to 2-ply. All right, and then I'm going to click apply. And again, since that was a copy of that first square we made, if I go to commands, my tie in and my tie off should still be there. Okay. So now we have put the fabric down over the batting, and we have tacked the batting, the fabric down. We are not going to trim the fabric at this time. So you're just going to leave the fabric in there. So the next step then is we want to get our fabric quilted. I want to quilt, and then we'll put the cute designs on top of it. Okay. So remember, we still have that copy that we made still sitting on the clipboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paste again. So I'm going to click the paste button, and this is also the original size. Okay. I'm going to go down to the bottom and make it yet another color. I want this to be color number 4. All right. And then, but this one, I want this to be a stipple. This is going to be the stippling over the batting and the fabric. So I want to make this into a different, I don't want it to run, I want it to be a fill. So I'm going to right click, I've got it selected down here. Check your sequence view. I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to convert to, and I'm going to convert to a complex fill. And the normal one that comes up is just just the kind of normal straight fill, but we can fix that because I want it to be a stipple. So I'm going to go up here to the fill tab that I'm on, and I'm going to tell it to be the fill type of stippling. And I prefer the Hilbert stippling. It's more random. The maze one is a little bit more like organized. So I want to change the pattern to Hilbert. I'm going to I want the stitch length a little shorter. 3 is pretty long. So I'm going to make it 2.5. And then I want the density, I want it to be more open because it's a little bit too close for me. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to make the density 5.0. And then I'm going to click apply. And it then has our stippling that will be over the fabric and the batting. I am going to check to make sure on my commands tab, because there's still a commands tab for the fills. You may have to click on this little arrow way over to the right and move that over. And here's the commands tab. And now, since this is a different type of fill, a different type of stitch, I should say, my tie-ins and my tie-offs are gone now because we were using runs before. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do a basic tie-in and a basic tie-off to make sure that none of those stitches come out. And click OK and click apply. Okay. All right. So everybody know where we are right now? We have a placement line for our batting. We put the batting down. Then we tacked it down with step number 2. Then we trimmed it. Then we put the fabric down. And then we did step number 3, which was tacking our fabric down. And then step number 4 is the quilting over the top. So a lot of you have done these types of little projects before, so this should sound very familiar to you, but you kind of have to think it through in your head to make sure you get the steps in the right order, okay? So I think we're ready now for, we have that little decorative outline around it. Let me go get the picture again so you can see. I'll keep this picture up so you can see it. So we have this little decorative outline around here, this little green outline that I put, okay? So I'll keep that up so you can see it. So I can hear I can't see anything. This little thing gets in the way down here, so it's really hard to find stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want to make that decorative outline. It's going to be a different type of stitch. So, but we still need that same square, and we can just paste it again. So I'm just going to paste. Yes, you could, Nancy, as long as it works okay. You would have to resize it possibly. There are other quilting designs that are in the software that you can use. So I just happened to use a stipple because I wanted something simple. But you can bring in anything that you'd like. Yes. Okay. So I still have that square on the clipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and paste it again. Instead of having to draw it again, we don't need to draw it. I want this to be color number 5. So I'm just going to go down. It's selected. I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to right click on color number 5. And then I need to do some transformation. So we need this to be smaller because we don't want it to be, you know, along the outside edge. I'll show you the picture again. So we want it to be, you know, kind of along inside the basic edge, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or so. So I'm going to go back up here. I've got that one selected. I'm going to go up here to the properties box again, and I'm going to choose transform. And I need this then to be 5 by 5. So I'm going to bring it in so that it's a little smaller than the original design. Maintain aspect ratio is checked. So I should be able to just type in 5.0 and it will change both of them at the same time. I'll click apply. So now we have the line that's smaller around the edge. I'm going to go to the Run tab. I want this to be a different type of run. I would like this, instead of a standard run, I would like it to be a motif. So I just wanted a cute little design of some sort. There's tons of them in here. So you can choose anything you want. There's 100, I don't know, a couple hundred of these. So you can go in here and choose any one you want. Okay. I just happen to like number 147. So I'm just going to choose 147. It's sort of a little, it's like a little star. I just thought it was kind of cute. So I wanted that one. And I kind of looked at it and I thought, you know, the pattern length, it says 10 millimeters, kind of big. Okay. So this is not a very big item we're working with. So I brought it down to 5 millimeters. That seemed to look good when I stitched it out. And I'm going to click apply. And then, as you can see, we have our little decorative outline here that's in about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I am going to check my commands, though, to make sure that my tie in and tie off are still there. Now, in this case, it will be, because this was still a run, even though it was a different type of run. So it is still there, and I don't need to put it back in again. It's still there. Okay. So that is the decorative outline. So we did the stippling, did the decorative outline, and now we're ready for all the fun stuff. So we're going to play with some letters first. We're going to do the word welcome, and we're going to do the word spring and add to this little, so we've got the base done of our little design. All right, so I am going to go up here now because I want to do some lettering. I'm going to get my text tool, which is the letter T. And I'm going to go down here and just click on the main area, or the design area. And I chose for welcome, I wanted it to be in cursive. I thought it was pretty. So I picked the font cursive. It's a very nice font. So we're just going to choose cursive here, if I can find it. There it is. And I'm just going to leave all the settings at default because I'm going to change the size of the letters and stuff, just kind of manually to make them look the way I want them on the screen. And I'm going to go up here and type in the word welcome. And I did use a capital W, so I'm going to type in capital W, welcome. Okay, then I'm going to click apply. And as you can see, I think this is big enough on the screen, you should be able to see that since this is cursive, normally cursive, you know, the letters all join together and are in one piece and don't have gaps in between. So right now, I still have my text tool, okay? Oh, you just type in the box. That's the way this is. Some of the softwares, depending on the software you have, some software will let you type on the screen, like PE Design, you type on the screen. I like the box actually because I find it easier to type there. So most of my software does it that way, Jan. It just depends. It depends on what software you're doing. Some software is on the screen, some software is in a box, like in the properties box. So just depends on what you're using. So okay, so now I still have my text tool on my cursor, okay? And there's a whole bunch of little blue, like diamond things and black things on the letters. I want to move my letters closer together so that there's no gap. I don't know if you can see. If I make it a little bigger, you might be able to see there's quite a gap between the E and the L right here. Okay, and I don't want that gap there because I want them to look like cursive letters. So we're going to go ahead and, whoops, I'm just going to zoom into that area though so you can see it, so that you can see on what I'm doing. Whoops, second here. Give me that other thing. There we go. So you can just see what I'm doing with the word welcome here. And I'll get my text tool again so I can get my letters back that I want, or the little boxes, I should say, back. So in order to kern this or to bring the letters closer together so that they touch, the little blue diamond things, if you get your cursor over there, it turns into a plus sign. And I can just grab that and I can just pull it over. So what it does, I grab the one between the E and the L, and it moves everything over to the left. And I'm going to go grab the one in between the C and the L, and I'm going to pull it all over to the left. That way they're touching. And I'm just kind of making them touch so that my letters are all beautiful and cursive and they all flow together. Okay, and then the M's not really going to, but it's fairly close. That looks good. And then the one between the E and the M here, I'm just going to pull it over so that it's together. All right, I think I kind of overshot it, so let's go back just a little bit. Okay, whoops. So this is just kind of a little manual manipulation. And then between the E and the capital W over here, I want that space to be a little smaller too. So I'm just going to grab that little blue diamond in there and I'm just going to pull it over just a little bit so that it's just a little closer to the W. That looks good. I think they'll be happy with that. Okay, so that's how you can manipulate your spaces between letters. So a lot of the letters will, when you type them, if they're cursive, they often will not come up by default connected together. So you need to move them, and that's how you do it. The other thing you can do with some of these boxes, there's other things. I'm just going to show you quickly the black ones that are like in the middle of each letter. Let's say I decided I want my W up here. I can just grab that one letter and pull it off of the rest of the word. So that's what the black one does. And then the ones that are around kind of like the outside edges change the shape and also the size of the letters. Okay, so I'm just going to click undo so my W goes back down where I want it. I just wanted that to be straight like that. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go get my selection tool now. And I am going to bring this down. I'm going to go up to my zoom and I'm going to go zoom to fit so I can see where my welcome is going to go here. So I'm going to grab the welcome with my cursor and I'm going to pull it over. And I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. You know, I think the default was very close. But to make it bigger, I'm just going to grab one of the corners so that it comes out in aspect ratio. I'm just going to bring it out to the sides that I'd like it to be. It does. I didn't have any size stated. I just kind of made it look good to me. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm sitting here looking at mine so I can make sure that I do it approximately the same way. Okay. Now I'm pretty happy with that. Now, since I have centered everything on my workspace, if you notice that there are the little nodes that are on the word welcome, there's one that's centered in the center, and there's, you know, those nodes on the corners too. If you look up on your ruler bar, there's the word, the number 0 there. That is the center of that area because we centered everything, remember? So I am going to make sure that I have welcome centered side to side. I'm going to push my little control key down, and I'm going to use the little arrow keys on my keyboard just to bump it over just a hair so that it's centered in my square. Okay, so that's a very simple way to center. I may move it a little bit from where it is right now once we get the other letters in. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good for right now. All right, so is there any questions? So that's a couple of new things with lettering, you know, using some of the little nodes that you have with your text tool. Now you have to have the text tool to have those little special nodes. So you can see now I have a selection tool right now, and there are no little black boxes or anything. If I go back up here and touch my text tool, they come back. Okay, so that's the difference. When I move letters, I usually try to get my selection tool because I have a tendency to grab like one letter and pull it out from away from the rest of them. So I like to use, when I'm moving things around, I like to use my selection tool. Okay. All right, so we got the word welcome done. So let's work on the word spring here. I did a couple of little things with this. One of the things I did is, in the picture here, let me put the picture down here again, I took the letter I out. So let's go ahead and just get spring going here. Okay. And we will go get the text tool again. And then I'm going to use a different font this time. I really love the font Curly Q. It's very, it's cute, it's curly, and then it has a very, it kind of, the letters are not all exactly the same size. They're kind of like, there's a lot of movement in them, and you can skew them a little bit more and make them even more unusual. And that's how I got that spring to look like that, although I did very little to those, okay, except to size them a little bit. Okay, so I am going to go up here. I got my cursor. I've got my text tool. I'm going to click on the screen. I might have to click twice, just so you know. And then I can go up here to my properties box, and I'm going to type in the word spring with a capital S. See if I can spell tonight. Okay. And I just left everything at default. And I'm going to click apply. Oh, but I do want to change my font. Sorry, I forgot to get curly Qs. Let's get curly Qs. It's right near cursive here. Just a second. There curly Q is. We'll get curly Q and then hit apply. There we go. Okay, so now I've got the word spring. Can you make the stitching wider if you want to? Most of the lettering, if you want wider stitching, pick a thicker font. You can change the density, but a lot of the fonts, you can't change a lot about the column part of it. You can do some. They give you stitch length and they give you density, but the thickness, just pick a thicker font. There's often another font that's very similar, that's just thicker in general. Okay, Deanne? And sometimes just making them larger will make them look thicker as well. Okay? All right, so here is our spring. Now spring, I'm going to bring it down to the bottom here. I'm going to go get my selection tool again, which is the arrow, and bring it down so that I don't pull like part of my letters off. And I want it to be bigger, so I'm going to bring it up and make it bigger. And I'm going to maybe make it just a little bit bigger than the welcome. That looks better. Now, and I remember I just kind of played around with this a little bit to get it so I liked it. So I know that I did bring it down this way a little bit. I kind of just pulled it, I skewed it a little bit so that it was longer. I elongated it. And actually I might have even gone a little bit more, but you can see that the letters don't lay on the same plane. You know, they kind of are up and down, and that's what I kind of wanted for this. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think that looks better. That's about what I did. And we can always do a little bit more here in a little bit if you want to change them even a little bit more. But this font is sort of like this, that it's not all on the same plane, like all the bottoms aren't on the same line here. So that's kind of cool. Okay. So I'm kind of happy with that, but I want the letter I to be a flower instead of the letter I. So I decided to change that out. So I'm going to select the word spring. And in order to be able to get in there to change like one of the letters, I want to right click. So I have the whole word selected, right click, and then I'm going to break up the text. Okay, so now each letter is individual. So now I can go in here and I can work with the letter S, the letter P, the letter R, and I want to get the letter I, and I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard because I don't want the letter I in there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in that little flower instead. Okay. Now I remember I had to play around a little bit with the size here once I got my flower in. So we'll play with these letters just a little bit more, but we're going to go find our little flower. Now, there are a lot of designs in the software, and I'm going to show you something. And if your screen does not look like this, you need there's a little support file that is not installed on your computer. And if you have recently gotten software and downloaded off the internet, the support file does not download with the software, and it never has unless they have changed it. So this little design, this little flower design. Oh, to break up your text, you have to right click, or you have to select your text, right click on it, Jackie, and then break up text. Again, you have Suite and you may not be able to do it. I'm not sure on yours if you can do it. That may be something that's only in the Pro version. Okay. So text designs. Up here at the top, next to the text tool and the monogramming tool, there is a little button that looks sort of like a book with the letter T. And if I click on that, there's three different things here. There's the text designs, there's a little arrow next to it, and there's a monogramming designs, motif shapes, and applique shapes. Okay, so there's like four different things here. I want the applique designs, or the text designs, sorry. So I'm going to choose the text designs by clicking on the actual button. And this box opens up, and there are a lot of designs in here. Now, if you do not have all of these designs, that means that you do not have that support file installed on your software. So if you need that, please contact me at the store and I will send that file to you so you can install it. Okay, because this is really cool because there's lots of really nice designs in here. If you do not have it, you will have basically the top couple rows and that's all. Okay, so I know some of the people that have new software may not have this file. If I have installed your software for you, you will have it because I always install it for everybody. Okay. So I'm going to go down. I'm looking for that little flower. So I'm going down to FL. So I have to go, let's find the letter F here. I have to go down a little ways. They're all kind of in alphabetical order. Here it is. So here's my little flower. So I'm going to grab that little flower and I'm going to click OK. So here's my little flower. Let's pull it over here on the side just to get it out of the way. Okay. Now, the only thing about it is if you see it, the stem is like really, really short. And I thought, well, that doesn't look right. I want the stem to be longer. So I need to go in here. If you look down here in my sequence view, the flowers right here at the very bottom of my sequence view, and it says group. So it's actually grouped together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select it, and I'm going to right click and ungroup it because I need to just work with the stem part. Okay, and if you look down here again, see now, whoops, second here at the bottom of there are 3 colors in it. Here's the color for the stem, here's the color for the little flower, and then here's the center. Now the only thing I need is the stem part, because the flower and everything else was a good size, but the stem was really short. So what I did is I went over here after I ungrouped it. I can just select the stem, the green. Then I'm going to pull it down. I'm just going to elongate it. I'm just going to pull down. Well, and let's see here. I'm not sure. I think I just want to do the stem part, not the leaves. I like the leaves. So I'm going to open this up. Yet again, here's the stem. Okay, I'm going to click the little plus sign next to the stem. And I only want to work with the stem part. And so the first pieces are all part of the leaves. So the leaves are okay. So I'm just going to keep clicking on here until I find the stem. All these little runs and everything. It's a little annoying. You have to kind of click down through it. And then I can tell that I'm still on the leaves. It kind of highlights so you can see I'm still doing the other leaf here. Let's see, I'm still going down. That's still the leaf. That's still the leaf. This is some of the editing things that I just wanted you to show. You just have to kind of be patient and get it. Okay, that's still the leaf. Okay, that looks like part of the leaf. There's all these little pieces when you ungroup things. So sometimes it's a little hard when you ungroup stuff to find it. Oh, I think I might have found the stem now, the second hand. Let's make sure I didn't miss any pieces though. Let's go up a little bit. That's part of the stem. That's part of the stem. That's part of the stem. Okay, so I think I need to go up a little bit. I think I might have missed something. So was this the leaf? That's a leaf. Oh, so starting on my computer as step 36, that doesn't necessarily mean it's yours, is part of the stem. So I'm going to hold my control key down now, and I'm going to click the next piece, which is also part of the stem. 38 is part of the stem. 39 is part of the stem, and so is 40. I've got my control key down. 41 is the satin stitch of the stem. That's part of 42 is part of the stem. 40, I think that's part of the stem too. 43 maybe. So I think that's all the stem. Okay, so it's like about 36 through 41 or 43 on my computer. So I'm going to select all of those pieces. And now I'm just going to grab the center box. I'm just going to pull that stem down so that it's longer. So sometimes when you have to do editing, second here, I need to undo because it's just a little weird. I think I had to pull it up a little bit, and then I had to, I'm just skewing it and pulling it down a little bit. There we go. All right, so now it looks better. So see, now the stem's longer and the leaves look in proportion to it. It was so short before, but that is how I had to do it. I had to ungroup everything and then find the pieces that I needed. It may be more than one piece. As you could see, it was about 6 or 7 pieces that were actually the stem. So I wanted everything to change at the same time. Okay, so I've got that done. I think I'm happy with that now. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box with my selection tool around all of those items for the little flower, and I'm going to select all of those, and then I'm going to go right click and group them up again, so I don't mess it up after I did all that work to get it fixed. You can, Denise, but if you just take that one piece, there's going to be stuff underneath that will not go with it, and your undersewing will not go with it. So you need to get all of those little pieces so that all the undersewing goes down with the satin stitching. That's why I did all those pieces. Because the one piece, that one number 41, I think that's the satin stitch, but none of the other pieces then are bigger underneath, and you need some undersewing. So that's why I did all of those pieces. Does that make sense? Because they're part of the design. They need to go with it. Okay? All right, so now we've got our little flower. So we're going to put the flower up in here. And, you know, it's just a little big. So, you know, let's just kind of play around with it. I got some notes here. I grouped it. Yeah, so I'm going to make my flower just a little smaller. And then now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my letters, you know, which are individual, and I can bump them over. I'm going to use my control key, and I'm going to bump my letters over a little bit, and to make room for my flower. Let's just move these things around a little bit. I like to use the little bump key because it helps a lot. Okay, move the R over a little bit, maybe move the P. Okay, and my flower. And you know, I actually had made it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to make it bigger again because I think it looks kind of small. Okay, and then I think I have to move my G over a little bit more. A second here, sometimes they don't want to go. There we go. Okay, and then the N. So I'm just kind of making this, playing around with the letters until I get them where I want them, so that all my letters look neat. And that's why I love this font though, because it's already kind of skewed, so you don't have to do a lot of work with the actual letters. You can just kind of, and I think I played around with them a little bit, maybe made them a little bit longer. So we might do that a little bit. So I'm just moving this over so I can get my flower moved over a little bit more. There we go. How's that? There. How's that? That looks better. What do you think? I think that looks better. So we got that, just, we ungrouped the letters so that we could play around with the letters, okay? And then we took out the I, played around a little bit with the flower, dropped it in where the I was to make it look like the letter I. Then I just moved the letters around a little bit. Now at this point, what I will do is I am going to take my letters and I'm going to select the S, hold my control key down, and go in and get the P, the R, the N, and the G, and I'm just going to group these back up again so that I don't move those letters anymore. Okay, so I'm just going to right click and I'm going to group those up, and I'll just leave the flower grouped alone. So the letters are grouped together right now, and then the flower is still grouped down here. Okay, that makes it a little bit easier, and we'll probably move these around a little bit so they sew in a little different order. So okay, so let's see. So we did the flower, we did the spring, and now, oh, we need to do the bee. So the little bee is also part of, it's actually a little design in the software as well. So again, it is also in those text designs. So I'm going to go up and click on the little book with the T on it. And I'm going to go down here to, this was under CH. For some reason, CH89464. So it's in the C. So let's see here. CH. It's a little grouping of bugs. Here it is. It's right here. So this little group of bugs. It was a butterfly, a little ladybug, and then the little bee. So we're going to grab that and click OK. It's going to come up here, and it's kind of in, I don't want it over here, so let's pull it over here so we can work with it. Okay. Now, all I want is the bee. I don't want the whole group. So we have to do the same thing. We need to ungroup it so that I can play around and get just what I want. Now, this was a little complicated because they're kind of tied together a little bit, which I thought was weird. So I'm just going to click the group button, and I'm going to right click and ungroup it. So now they're ungrouped, but now they're kind of close together, so you can't like just grab one piece and just like get rid of everything. So I kind of was able to draw a box here and get rid of some of the butterfly, and I just kept hitting delete. So I just kind of got a little bit more of it and hit delete. Now just be careful, I'm on the bee's the little wing. I don't want that deleted. I want some of this other stuff. So they were kind of they were grouped together, and then they were like sewn, like parts of it were sewn together, like part of the butterfly, then part of the bee, and then part of the little ladybug. So they were like kind of all mixed up. So I just kind of went in here and kept deleting until I got the stuff off that I didn't want. So I'm just hitting delete on my keyboard, and so now that there's the bee, so I want to keep the little bee. And let's go over here to the butterfly, see if we can get rid of some of the butterfly. Okay, there's some more little pieces, but they were just all kind of weird and kind of mashed together. So I just had to this was the best way I did it, was just kind of select a little bits of it and just kept deleting. Oops, still haven't got it. This yellow just doesn't want to go away. There we go. Okay, whoops, getting close. Getting close. Okay, so now we just got the bee. There's our little bee. All right. So I want to go ahead, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to regroup him so that I don't lose anything. So I'm going to go, I got him selected, just drew a box around him, selected him, right click, and group, so that now he's grouped. So we don't have a like anything getting away from us here. Okay. Now I kind of wanted him in a different, I thought he looked like he was flying downhill. So I wanted him to kind of fly upward. So all I did is I kind of took him up here, and I thought, oh, yeah, Judy, you can delete from the sequence view. I found it kind of hard though there, because some of the colors were like grouped together. Like part of the butterfly was with the bee. So I found it easier just to kind of click on the things. Yes, you could have used the lasso also. I sometimes don't use the lasso. I just often just click on the things that I can see. So yes, you could do that, Jackie. This one was harder to do because I wanted to do it in the sequence view, but the stuff was like part of the wings were with the butterfly, with the ladybug. And so I had to really go through each little piece, and it was easier just to click on it to get rid of it. So I think we got what we want now. Move my little bee over here, and I want him to go flying towards the left. So I'm just going to, those little pink circles on the corner here, those are rotation. So I'm just going to rotate him so that he's kind of flying towards the left. I've got his little antenna there, and then I want him to fly kind of towards the left like that. And I think that looks cute. Okay, so there's our little bee. And we just used something that was right in the software. I grouped my spring together. Let's see. All right, so got that. Now what I want to do is I would like to make that little bee trail. So let me show you the picture again. So we're going to make this little bee trail and I just used a straight stitch for that, and I just drew it freehand. Okay, so let's just go to get a little drawing tool. And I used the run tool. So the run tool looks like the backwards S on the software. And I'm just going to click on that. And then I would like it to be, I'm going to set some stuff up. So I want my stitch length was 3 was fine. And then I would like my type of stitch, instead of a standard, I want it to be a bean stitch. So in other words, it's a triple stitch so that it shows a little bit better. I also want there to be a tie-in and a tie-off. So I'm going to click apply right now. So the settings I've changed will stay. And now I'm going to go to the commands tab. And I'm going to tie in with a basic and tie off with a basic. So yes, some of you were asking about, could you do this to get rid of the other pieces of the bee and the butterfly and stuff? So yes, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So experiment to see which works better for you. You can use the sequence view. You can use the lasso tool. The lasso tool is under, if you don't know where it is, it's under the selection tool. If you click on the little arrow and then there's the lasso tool, and then you can just kind of click around things. They were kind of close together, Jackie, so I had a little trouble doing it. So that's why I was just clicking on things. So I was surprised at how they were put together because parts of the wings were with the butterfly, and it was weird the way they were put together. So I wasn't expecting that when I chose that one. So, okay, so I'm ready to draw. I got my basic tie in and tie off here, and I'm going to click apply. Now I want to draw my little bee trail, so I'm going to make this just a little bigger. I can't really see where I'm going, so I'm going to make this area just a little bigger on the screen. And I am going to, I've got my tool. I think I've got, whoops, second here. See if I can get my tool to stay on my cursor. There we go. Okay, so I've got my run, got my bean. Okay, so everything's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of start at the base of his little rear here. Okay, and maybe in just a little bit because we're going to sew the bee trail before we sew the bee. We're going to sew the bee on top of it. I'm just going to move in just a hair so that it'll sew over the edge. Now I want this to be nice, kind of loopy and curved. So if I'm going to click one time, and now I'm going to hold my control key down, and I'm just going to kind of freehand this. I'm not going to be real specific about my trail. I'm just going to bring it up. And I'm just clicking. I have my control key down because you can see it's making me these nice loops now. They're nice and curvy, okay? And I'm just going to kind of go up this way, and that looks good. And then I'm going to right click to finish it. Okay, so whatever way your little bee trail turns out, it doesn't matter. If you're unhappy with maybe like one of your curves, I've got kind of a little square part down here. I can always go up and get my stitch tool or my shape tool, and I can move some of these little nodes. Then my nodes show up, see? So then I can move these around. If I'm unhappy about where something is, I can move them around to make them more curved or more beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to move these around a little bit. This one looked a little bit flat, so I'm just going to move it in a little bit, and I think that looks good. Okay, and then you hit enter on your keyboard and it changes it to where you changed it. Okay, so the little bee trail, it doesn't, if you're not a good drawer, because I'm certainly not a good drawer, I just kind of freehanded it and made it look like a little loop. I just wanted it to be kind of a little loop that he was flying. Okay. All right. So let's see here. So I think at this point, what I want to do is we grouped the letters together. We're going to have to change some order of things here in a minute, okay? But we also need to do one more thing with, after all of the stuff sews, we need to do something to put this thing together, okay? So let's go back down. I'm going to go to the zoom, and I'm going to go to fit. And I can see the whole design now. So I'm going to look over here in my sequence view, and I want to make sure that things are going to sew where I need them to sew. So I think the first things, you know, our placement line for the batting is good. The tack down was the second thing. And then the third thing is the tack down for the fabric. And then it does the quilting. And then it does that little decorative stitch. Now, at this point, it doesn't really matter what order things sew in. Okay, so if you don't have to move anything if you don't want. The only thing I did is I wanted all my letters to sew together because I wanted them to be the same color. So I did put all my letters together, and then the little flower is sewing, and then the little bee. The one thing I would like is I would like the bee trail to go ahead of the bee so that he sews on top of it. So I am going to take the little bee trail, which is the last thing we did. I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to pull it up and drop it down on top of the flower. Hopefully, if it'll let me go. Sometimes it doesn't like to let go. I don't know why. Second here. There we go. Okay. So now if you look at my sequence view, it is going to sew right before the B. Now, if I want to move these around a little bit more, we will in a minute, but let's go ahead and finish because we need to have a backing on this too. So that's the section we're going to do next. Is we got all of our little design all done on here, but now we need to have a backing on our little wall hanging, and we need to put in our little some little ribbons to hold it onto the little frame. So here's the little ribbons up here. Okay, so we need to do that also. Okay. So after we got our design on here, now we need to finish up the rest of the design. And I want to put the sewing line on for the backing. Okay. So the backing sewing line needs to be the same size as all the other squares we've already had. So honestly, all we have to do, I am going to choose the smaller one. Remember, we made one of these just slightly smaller, the one that we used for the batting tack down. I'm going to select step number 2 in my sequence view now, because I want to make sure that my stitching does not show like on the edges. So I'm going to make my final stitch out just a teeny bit smaller. So I've got that selected in my sequence view, and I'm going to go back up and copy that. So I'm going to click the copy button, and then I'm going to click the paste button. So now I have 2 of those runs underneath color number 2. Okay. I want to move this to the bottom because I want that second one that we just did. I want it to sew at the end because that's going to be, we're going to put some fabric on and we're going to sew all the way around. Okay. So I'm going to go grab that and we're going to pull it down here. I'm going to pull this up so you can see it better. Second here. My screen is real small on my computer, so it makes it hard. Okay, so here's that second one that we just did, and I want it to sew after the B. So I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to pull it all the way to the bottom and drop it on the B, and now it's at the bottom. Okay, so that is going to be, we're going to put, right before we sew that, we're going to sew all of our little welcome spring and our B trail and the flower. And then we're going to put our little, the 2 little pieces of ribbon for our little holder, okay, on. And then we're going to lay the fabric over the, we're going to do like one of those little envelope backs. We've folded it down and put a piece of like the tape. What's the tape called, Lynn? I always forget what it's called. Steam a seam too, and to hold it closed on the back. Just so you know, I have instructions on how to sew this and the design that I created, and also the C2S file uploaded to Sessions on Software. Okay, so it's already uploaded to the Dropbox, so you can download that, and it has the sewing instructions if you need to have some instructions. And it also has the cutting instructions about how to make your fabrics and everything. Okay, so that's already up on Sessions on Software. It's under Welcome. It's under Welcome Spring. Okay, so at this point we've got that line on here. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Steam a seam too. I always forget what it's called. And if you look at that last thing, it's also a 2-ply. So that's good. It's going to go around it 2 times. That'll be great. Okay. And then when I got all done with this, I decided I don't like the size. It needed to be a little bit bigger. So the very last thing I said, I thought, well, we can just do the whole thing at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Edit, select all, so that the entire design is selected, and I'm going to go up here to my properties box, go all the way over here to the transform tab. It's way over at the end. Transform, and then I wanted this to be about 5.75. So I just typed in 5.75. I have to find my apply button, and again, it's down here. There we go. My screen's real small, so I always have to find it. There we go, 5.75. So I just brought it up, the whole thing up just a little bit. It just looked a little small in the frame. Okay, so that's what I did. I just selected everything and brought the whole thing design up at the same time. All right, so that's what I just did. Now, I have my letters I have my letters grouped. I did want to change some of my colors. So the way I'm going to change my colors, I want to change the color of I didn't change everything. I just basically changed the colors of the main elements. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and change. The first thing I want to change is the stippling. I wanted it to be kind of, kind of an off-white. Mine's kind of an off-white. So I just used the brother colors, and I chose number 4, and I'm going to just make it kind of a creamy off-white linen. That looks good. So we're going to do that. That's the color I wanted on that. Okay. And then number 5 was that, step number 5 was that little outline around the outside edge. Well, I wanted mine to be green, so I made it leaf green. So let's just do number 5. I'm left clicking on the box at the bottom. Then I'm going to find my leaf green in my brother colors here. There it is. And click OK. So now it's leaf green, my outline. Okay. I like to make things the right colors because it helps me. You know, then I do better finding what I'm doing. Okay. And then let's see the letters. The letters, I want them to be, I like that light blue color. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and change, let's see, what were these? These were color number 1. How about this? This might be something else. Let's see what this is. I'm not sure. I want them both to be the same color. All my letters were going to be light blue. So I think I'm just going to go over here to the number 1 box over here. Left click on it, and I'm going to make that box light blue. So now my letters are light blue. Okay. And let's see. Let's go down here, and then my grouped flowers. So now this is where it gets a little tricky. So when we want to change colors of like the flower and stuff, it's grouped. So you can't just change one color. I want to ungroup my flower briefly. So I'm just going to ungroup this flower briefly if I can get a hold of it. There we go. Right click, ungroup it, and now I'm going to change some colors in it because I want my leaves to be the same color as my outline was, and that was leaf green. So I've got the little leaves. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to right click on box number 5 because that was the same color. So that's that way it's just the same color. All right, a second here. And let's see. I want this, the orange flower, I want it to be pink. Yeah, I made my flower pink. So that was number 22 over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that box. And I'm going to go back to my brother colors and make it pink. Okay, I like that. And then here's my center of my flower. I like that. That was number 23 on here. So I think I'm just going to click on the box 23 and make it my brother color. And I made it number 205 yellow. I just wanted a yellow center. I think I'm good with that. Now I am going to go ahead and group those back together. So I'm just going to grab the stem, hold my control key down, get the flower and get the center. And then I'm going to right click on it and group it up again. So that way I have my flower this color I want it. Now I noticed that when I changed my some other thing, or when I changed the color of the letters, it changed my little bee trail. Well, you know, the bee trail, I would like my bee trail to be black. And that little bee is also grouped, and I would like it to be different colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the colors of the bee. And let's see, I would like this little top part. Let's see. I remember he had a little weird thing going on here. So let me see. I remember when I pulled it out that there was part of it missing. So let's ungroup it here. I'm going to select my bee, right click, and ungroup. And he had a piece of him that was, okay, that's my bee trail. So I want that there. But then the next little piece, it was like part of, I had to pull it out. I had to grab it and pull it out so I could see what it is. It's actually under the yellow. I don't know what happened, but it got separated from the rest of him. So I want that to be, it's underneath his little, the yellow part of his body. So I'm going to make that yellow, and I'm going to use the same yellow that I used for the center of the flower, and that was number 23. So I selected that weird little 24 stitches, and I'm going to right click on number 23, make it yellow. And then the next part is his body, and I want that to be yellow too. So I'm going to right click and I'm on 23 again and make it yellow. Okay, so we got that. And then the next part of the little bee is his wings, and I want that to be white. So that is actually color number 24. So we're just going to left click on 24, and I'm going to go back to my brother colors and make it white. Okay, so now he's got white wings, and then I want the outline to be black. So that was color number 27 in my list here. So we'll just go find 27. And I'm going to find my brother colors again. And I want to make that black. Okay, so now the bee's black. And let's see here. We've still got pieces of him hanging out here. So we need the bee trail. So the bee trail needs to sew before the bee. And I also want that to be black. So I selected that, and I'm going to go at it was number 27 was the black. So let's go back over here to 27 and right click on that. So now the bee trail should be black. And I am going to go select all my pieces of my bee, except for the bee trail, and select each one with my control key, and I'm going to regroup those again just to make sure he doesn't get apart on me. I like to keep things like that grouped so I don't mess up. Okay, so now if I look at my colors a little bit different, I kind of made them so that they look right on the screen now. So I have my placement lines 1, 2, and 3, and then the fourth thing down is that quilting, so I changed that so that it matched my fabric. And then I had my green decorative outline, and then I have my letters, and I want them both to be, hopefully they're both the same color. Let's see here. Yep. So they should be both the same color. They're both they're blue, light blue. And then it's going to sew out the little flower, and then it's going to do the little bee trail, and then sew out the bee. And then the last thing that it's going to do then, after we put our fabric on and our ribbons, it's going to sew around the outside edge and put the back on. So it looks pretty good. I just kind of switched around the colors. Now you don't have to do the colors if you don't want. You can just leave them and put whatever color in you want. It doesn't matter. I kind of liked it to look right on the screen, so I always do that. The other thing I do when I get down here at the bottom is, look at all the colors we got down here. Well, we're not using hardly any of them, are we? So what I do just for my own visual thing, I like to go down here to the negative sign, and I just click remove extra, and then the only colors that will show up down here are the ones that we're actually using. And then so there's only like 9 colors in it. And it just makes it easier for my eye to know what I've done. There are some odd colors because those are the ones that we used for, down here, Jackie, when there was a ton of boxes, there's like 27 boxes of colors down here, but we're not using all those colors. I like to just visually, for me, know exactly what colors I'm using. So if you just go down at the very bottom right-hand side to where that red negative sign is, it says remove extra. If you click that, it will remove all the colors that you're not using in your design. Because if you've changed your design colors, then the only ones that are left there now are the ones that you're actually using. I always find that helpful. It's just less busy for me. Okay. So, we're just basically using these 9 colors. We've got leaf green. We've got, the pink and the yellow and the black. All right. For all of our little designs. And then the last thing, of course, we now need to save this, right? We got it all digitized. So we want to make sure we save it. I'm going to hit File. I'm going to click Save As. And I am going to name it Welcome Spring. I think I'll just save it on my, whoops, can't spell today. I'm going to save it on my desktop. And I always want to save it as a C2S file. That's our working file. We can come back to this file later if we need to fix something or do something differently to it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. It's on my desktop. And then, of course, I need to be able to sew this. So I need to go up to File, Save As, and then I want to change this one so that I save it as a PES file, which would be my stitch file for my machine. So I'm going to do PES version 9. If you have a multi-needle machine, choose multi-needle. I always choose multi-needle when I'm going to put it in there. The file reads slightly differently in the multiple needle machine. So I always choose, that's what I'm going to use, I always choose that format. I'm just going to choose the regular PES version 9, and then I'm going to save that on my desktop. So if I go out here to my desktop now, there are 2 files. I got all these little things open. There we go. There's 2 files. This one says that one of these is a PES, and one of these is a C2S. I have that little program that makes it. Here's my C2S. And here's my PES. So when I need to, I go back to the C2S to work on it. If I need to go back and fix something, if I sew it out and something, like I did sew this out and something didn't look quite right. So I went back to my C2S and fixed it and then resaved it again. There was a little problem with that's when I noticed the B. I told you there was that little thing underneath the top part of the yellow. It was just weird. There was something in the design itself, and I went and fixed it because it was actually underlay, like in this part of the B up here, and they had it in 2 colors in the original design, so I just made it 1 color so that it was the underlay and then the yellow on top. So that's what it was. So I just put it together so it would sew together. It was, I don't know what happened, something happened in the original design evidently. So okay, so that's something I noticed. But this is just a little exercise in doing some digitizing. See, these designs were all in the software already. All you have to do is just kind of get what you want out of them. And that's how I've made a lot of designs over the years, just picking out designs that I had or things in the software and then just making it the way I wanted it. So I thought this was a cute little exercise, and I always like to make things for the seasons to hang up. And then maybe we'll do another one for the summer. We'll do something maybe kind of patriotic, or we'll do something with watermelons or something for the summer. We'll do another one of these, okay? All right, so are there any questions? Did some of this make sense? You may have to watch me change the colors. We've changed colors enough time. I think everybody can do color changing. I kind of went through it a little fast because I had a bunch of stuff, but that way you can kind of go in and remember, if there is a grouped item, you have to ungroup it to change the individual colors. So that's why I ungrouped the flower and ungrouped the bee so that I could change each individual color in the group. Okay. And then I grouped them back up again so that I wouldn't pull something away that I didn't mean to. Okay. So are there any questions? I thought this was a fun little project. It turned out really cute. I enjoyed it. It's all sewing. That's why I decided not to sew it out, because it's just sewing. And I wrote out the instructions for the actual sewing and then all of the cutting information. So that is on the Dropbox on the group. So you can get the designs if you don't want to make it yourself. I'd encourage you to do what I just did and make your own design and sew your own out, because then you can make it yours as well. You can still fix the PES file, Pat. Yes, you can still edit the PES file. It is a little bit harder because did you notice when I brought in those designs, the two little designs, that there was all those little pieces that said run, 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 satin, run, run, run. You have to go through each little piece to get what you want. So like when I brought in the little bee and the little flower, they were already a stitch file. And that's why it was harder to go in and get all those little pieces. So yes, you can still do it. You may have to ungroup it, and you have to go in and work with each individual piece a little bit more. It takes a little more time the C2S files are easier to do the, what? Oh, Lynn's ready to stitch her, she says. So, but these are really fun. Go download the from the Dropbox. Remember to get the Dropbox. If you just go to this group, and it's the top announcement in the feed, and there's a link to Dropbox where you can do this, and it's called Welcome Spring, and it has the two files in it, and it also has a picture of it, and then it has instructions on how to sew it. Okay. I do like it that you can watch them over again, because sometimes with the digitizing, you just have to do it and then do it again with me. So, and I love the software, it's easy to work in. And once you get the hang of it, I highly recommend using your software every day. Try to open it up every day and you do something in it, because the more you open it, the faster you're going to learn it. So, okay. Any other questions? It was fun. I really enjoyed making this. Does the dime software have where you can do a satin stitch around the edge and then in the center of that do a straight stitch? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Oh, yes, I do, Nancy. Yes, it's yes, you can. Dime, it's called tackle twill. It's like a trapping stitch. So yeah, so you would use the tackle twill instead of the regular applique, because it would do a satin stitch around the outside edge, and then you can change the density, and then it does a trapping stitch, or like a straight line on the inside. Yes. Or you could always add your straight line. But the tackle twill, they used to do one, they used to have another stitch that they used, but I think they still use the tackle twill like that. Okay. All right. So please make sure that when you sew these out, that you put pictures of yours up. I'm anxious to see everybody's little banners, and that these little 6-inch frames, if you don't have one and you want one, they're up on the website. They're just under the miscellaneous accessories, and they're the little 6x6 Ackfeld frame. So they fit, everything fits really nice in there. So, okay. So I think everybody is going to do really well with this little project. Just, and then you can go to YouTube and watch the video too. If you can't find it on the group, go to YouTube and type in Sew Along with Jan and look for the, did you put an envelope? Yes, that's what I did, Jan. It's the envelope back. So if you download the instructions, it explains it in there and tells you how big to cut everything. So, yep. I didn't figure we really needed to sew it. We've done several of these before. So I figured that if you had the instructions, with the cutting instructions, you'd be fine. Okay. So next week, we're going to start the Hoppy Easter bench pillow. That will be on Sew Along with Jan. And be watching later this evening. I will put this video up on YouTube. I'll download it and upload it to YouTube. So it will be up there soon. And then I will link everything to the YouTube video also. So, and it will still be on Facebook. Everything will still stay on Facebook. It's just easier to find it on YouTube. So, okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. See you next week.